about this.
Why does that guy look like that?
So she's right and wrong. For the right, she talks about recessive genes. That feature will not show up unless you have two recessive genes. You're more likely to have recessive genes together if your parents are related. And you could say that Charles II of Spain's parents were related because his father, Philip IV of Spain, married his sister's daughter, making his father his uncle, and said wife, Mariana of Austria, who was seen right here with her husband. Incidentally, her daughter married her uncle. But Mariana of Austria was her son's cousin once removed and his aunt on his dad's side. Maria of Austria's father, Ferdinand III, married his cousin, Mariana of Spain, who was her brother's mother-in-law. Her father, Philip III, was her husband's uncle. His wife, Margaret of Austria, was his second cousin, making Margaret of Austria both an aunt and a mother-in-law to Ferdinand III, because her brother, Ferdinand II's son, married her daughter. His wife, Mariana of Bavaria, who was the daughter of William V of Bavaria, was an uncle and a father-in-law. And his sister, Mariana of Bavaria, was married to Charles II, who was her uncle. And then his brother, Maximilian II, married his first cousin, Maria of Austria, whose father was her husband's uncle. Father-in-law Ferdinand I's father was Philip I of Castile, whose other son was Charles V. Whose son was Philip II, who married his niece, Anne of Austria, whose son, Philip III, married his second cousin, who was Margaret of Austria, remember her? Whose son was Philip IV of Spain, who married his niece, remember, Mariana of Austria, whose child is Charles II of Spain. But while his chin was recessive, these portraits are making him look a lot better than he actually did. He was basically unable to swallow. His mandible did not work. He had numerous intestinal problems. He did marry his niece. He loved her so. It turned out at his autopsy he only had one testicle. Here is where I think we need to remember, royal portraits are not about how they look. He looked way worse than this. What they wanted to show in this portrait is that he is descended of the Holy Roman Emperor and a Hapsburg. Yes, they had those crazy chins. Those chins implied they were part of the family. And so royal portraiture, astonishingly, always highlighted the features that made them royal. Made them look bad. They were always airbrushed. That's not a new thing. But the goal was to say, look, I got this chin because I have this role divined from God because of my heritage. You might think, like, didn't they figure this out? Yeah, but they believed they were ordained for this great.